thank you very much for saying that. Thank you very much for coming to this extraordinary meeting. Thank you for taking time out of your Mondays to do so. Obviously, we want to get through stuff as best we can, so Emma's cut stuff down to stuff that's quite sensitive, and hopefully we can get through the rest of what would have been on the agenda a couple of weeks ago. So 2208, apologies for absence. We've got a couple of apologies.
Yes, and apologies from Councillor King.
Possible, that's it. We okay with that? Thank you very much indeed. 2209, declarations of interest. Anyone have any declarations of any interest? It's probably not relevant. I've been to the Ukrainian wraparound support group a few times over the summer from the Baptist Church, so I better just say that I've done that. It's in my report. Representation from interested parties? No. Consideration of requests from interested parties? What is that? 2212, minutes of the previous meeting. I have them here for the first of Finance was on the 14th of June. Anything that anyone wants to raise? If not, we're okay for them to sign.
There's also the personnel one as well.
We're going back to the 1st of March.
Yeah, personnel one.
Okay. So do I need a proposal for both, or can I do them all just on one?
Well, they're down as separate items, but if proposers and seconders are the same for both, they don't mind that.
Sign both sets, please. Thank you very much, Liz. Can someone second them? Thank you very much, David. Everyone okay with that? Thank you very much. Financial matters, receive the accounts for July and August 2022. Anything forthcoming from any of those? Any thoughts, concerns?
I asked for a sort of more detailed comparison against the budget, although what I was really looking for was information about how predicted inflation might impact that, but perhaps we could have some kind of conversation here and now as to whether we think there are lines that might be under pressure. But before then, just on income, notice no income's been posted against the hub so far, which I was surprised at. And the studio is running very short on our budget, and I assume that we won't get any income from and/or preschool. So just all of those things together, you know, given most things would never go over on income for us, are they all potential downsides?
So,
Well, you're right. There hasn't been any income in from the hub. We won't get any money from the preschool. And you said about the dance studio.
Yeah, it's so far down on what we budgeted, whereas I thought that was one of the ones that kind of ran along.
It does. I mean, it could be. It's sometimes depends on when the money comes in and when it gets posted. But I can check with Paul.
which document is it on the Excel?
Oh, well, of course, I've opened the additional one, but I think you sent that to everyone, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I forwarded that one. Yeah.
It only came this week, so it's not with those papers. Mine's called 2022-23 detailed budgets for estates.
That's
hopefully. So that one, and he's just done this extra column where we can very easily see where we are against budget as a percentage. So column B.
Studio, I don't know what else goes in the studio, but the only things I know of are the Zumba and the ballet.
Zumba's finished now, but there are other dance classes.
There
And
are other things.
yeah,
So,
that go
so
for-
is the Zumba, is the income from Zumba being replaced by something else?
no. Yeah, that just we have yoga in the and some other exercises classes that are in the Blackthorn room.
But it's in the studio, where it's.
It's predominantly ballet.
But as she says, as Liz has just said, it's running quite a long way behind.
So the loss of Zumba explains some of that.
I think Zumba was, probably twice a week. I mean, we haven't had Zumba not since before lockdown, I'd say.
Well,
I can't remember quite when she finished, to be honest.
she was doing it up to lockdown. and then-
No, she did. She did come back, yeah.
It's after lockdown, I think.
But I can just check with Paul just to see. I mean, it could be that
Could be the payment dates.
The payment
holidays and
dates.
Stuff like that, maybe.
Yeah, I'm kind of share Liz's concern, we don't really know where we are.
Well, we already know that the free school isn't going to pay 5,000. However, when I saw Morag last week, she was very excitedly talking about the youth club are going to go in there. Is that right?
hopefully, if it's all cleared, but I need to speak to Gina because it's all gone a bit quiet. So I'm not really quite sure how much is left. I think they had some sort of sale, afternoon
Yeah,
sale.
they were advertising on
Yeah, I don't know. Up until recently, there was still quite a lot of stuff in there. I know other preschools have taken it away, but I think they've got to try and then sell it, and then if not, get rid
And
of
will
it.
any of that money raised be able to go towards what they must owe us?
No. What that they're raising?
Yeah, I mean.
The preschool.
When was that 5,000 due?
I don't know
You
off the top of my head.
just leave a lease and not pay, generally speaking. You know, even if you come to an agreement that you're going to leave early. If they have any assets,
Because it's a charity, it's slightly different how it's.
Well, if we invoice them, it's in their accounts that they owe us the money.
I'll have to check it with Paul. So I don't know if
I'm
he
very harsh with these people.
I don't know if he invoices like as they start back in September in the new year, whether that's when he invoices
Yeah,
them.
I know, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
think they appeared on the debtors.
okay.
I'm pretty sure they do. So I think it's around, I know like this weekend there was something on in the hub, so hopefully that's some income, so that's going to.
Yeah, that's probably that'd be the first thing that you will see some income from the hub. And obviously at the moment the hub is being hired by the Ukrainian support group. And we should be getting income from that, but they, as you know, they've applied for a grant.
Yeah. And on the costs, do you mind if I carry on here?
No, please do.
On the costs, I mean, nothing struck me as requiring any particular attention. But I think in his comment to me, when Paul sent this, or not necessarily to me, was that the electricity and gas are trundling along as expected at the moment. But I think everybody, it's only now that you might be seeing changes. So it's to understand the structure of that, because I think it was a fixed.
We did talk about it not that long ago. It certainly is fixed, but I can't remember how long. But we want some of it was 2
March,
years.
April, May next year.
Yeah, some of it was 2 years, and some was 3 years. If I remember rightly. So some next year, and some the year after. But yeah, so this is next year's budget. More so than this year's.
Yeah, so will, and you don't think they'll have any clause in that that would allow them to change those terms?
No, I don't think so. And again, that was one of the things we specifically talked about, because we said we had this conversation about whether or not if the supplier goes bust, then that you then argue not change the conditions. But we felt there was not a big risk of that.
They were deemed to be financially stable-ish, weren't they? Given what we thought would come.
And in terms of all the lovely Westminster promises about businesses and public entity, we don't seem to fit within those categories. We're not hospital, we're not school, we're not that.
Local authorities will always-
It was all maximised rather than.
Ah.
But who knows, I suppose. The devil will come in the detail.
It's only money going around in circles.
Thank you very much. If there's any other queries, questions, uncertainties about any of the detail therein?
So we're not asking this to look at the debtors, so I assume we'll do that when we come to full council, because the debtors have gone out quite a lot compared to what we used to. So I just wondered. But it's not on this agenda, so I assume.
It's not the next one, I don't think, either.
It's not part of the account, so,
Yeah.
and they're all, so if you want to talk about them,
Now's a good time.
yeah.
Yeah, as we've got the time, so if you, there's one called August debtors. And, you know, it's quite, well, there's Andrew, oh no, that's the Andrew School, not Andrew Preschool.
That's a pretty cool down there.
Oh, maybe I was getting mixed up then with them and Andrew Preschool. Maybe it wasn't, so, yeah, there's some, you know, stuff which is getting quite old, much older than we're used to seeing. Normally, everything gets paid quite quickly. So I just wondered if there's any plans to chase in any of this money. Who are Maynard Memorials, for example?
Sorry?
Who are Maynard Memorials?
They're headstones,
Yeah, but why were they this money?
because we invoice them.
So someone takes up a plot, and we then invoice them for the headstone. Does it
Surely a
invoice?
private contract, isn't it? I don't know.
Do the individuals not get invoiced directly?
The Oundle School one is for the contribution towards CCTV in the town.
Do we know if that's coming or not coming?
Well, last year there was a conversation, but it was paid. But they did want to have a meeting to discuss it going forward, but that's not happened. So obviously they've been invoiced again.
So that's in the older column. So is that last year's or this year?
No, it's part of this year. This is all this year.
So I still don't quite understand why Maynard Memorials, I mean, I'm sure it's a valid invoice and we clearly were expecting something from them, but I don't quite understand what that is. But anyway, so they're late paying obviously, and Northamptonshire, the registrars are always very late, that I have learned. That doesn't surprise me. And I don't know who Oundle and Stamford Malt.
They're a tenant in the courthouse.
Oh, are they? Right. Okay. So because they owe two amounts, possibly three amounts. 3 amounts. of £276, so.
I'll look into that.
So does Paul normally chase these?
Karen does the debt chasing.
Rupert?
I was going to ask, could we wind up temporarily on these very relevant questions, like asking Emma to ask Paul to chase up all these
Yeah.
loose ends and report back?
I can get a detailed list on.
Because I think we're getting in danger of simply talking round the subject again and again. No thanks.
It's good to dive into the weeds sometimes, get some detail. Yeah, that's fine, are you okay with that?
Yes, of course.
Yes. No, thank you for digging into those, and if we can get a report from Paul on what's what, that would be great. I asked Paul for a copy of the grant budget, how we spent it, before we went to the next one.
You anticipated my next question, which was, where are we with the grant budget?
I don't know the answer, I'm afraid.
Oh, it wasn't good.
Did you know? Not yet.
Oh, have you not? Oh, okay. I
No.
thought I'd sent a spreadsheet out.
No.
There's one spreadsheet that says that we've overspent by £1,000, but we've got £20,000 left, which I don't really understand. So I think I was reading that incorrectly.
Right, at the moment, we've spent 8,450 out of 20,000.
And maybe that's just a sort of year-to-date average or
It
something.
could be, and I think
Yes.
GBH was in there as well, that's what got me very confused. So firstly, there's the grant application at 221302 for the literary festival. This is £500, as I recall. Most years in some way, shape or form. Maybe they say they didn't get the food, which makes sense, but they seem fairly vibrant now. Any thoughts? Eric?
It's really just the usual observation, frankly, that event and certain other events undoubtedly bring A, prestige to the council by being associated with it, but B, they're events that are widely supported one way or another in the town, so that there's a very definite sort of correlation between us making funds available and the town benefiting. So I'm quite happy to propose that we accept.
Any other thoughts, contradictory otherwise? It's a relatively small amount, I think that what David says is fine, I'm happy to second it, and we're okay to vote on that?
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you very much indeed. 221303, application from the Baptist Church to help rent the hub for us. In perpetuity.
But the reason that this has gone on is because, as you will remember, in June, we gave them a £3,000 grant to help with setting up. So my thoughts were, you know, it wasn't my decision to turn around and say, yes, you can have it for free.
But is that within our remit? If we are offered to host them here, rather than us paying money from our grant budget?
Well, yeah, if you, at this moment in time, if you now decide that you're quite happy for them to have it free of charge, then I can just go back. But at that time, considering we've just given them quite a large grant, I did feel that that may have been a grant that would help to pay towards certain things. But yeah, I could see why you're not going to give them a grant, another grant.
Unless anyone has, if I might throw something, I've been to the group 2 or 3 times. I know you said on Friday it was busy, there are more and more people arriving, they're doing a brilliant job, and the hub seems utterly perfect for what they need. And actually, for us wanting to make the hub thrive and be vibrant, it's the ideal use of it.
Can I just clarify, because unfortunately I've got certain issues with paperwork, so I haven't actually seen this. What are they actually asking for?
They're asking for a grant that is effectively equivalent to £45.
Pounds a week. It costs £45 because they've got they have it for 3 hours, but sometimes longer.
So that's to cover our rental costs of the hub.
And in a sense, are they asking for that on an ongoing basis, or are they asked for it?
And tell us when the war in Ukraine might finish, I suppose they can put time period on it, but I think they are asking for it.
I mean, my view would be, if we do it, that's we do get time with it. which we have to review that.
I think we
Because
can,
giving up an income of £45 a week.
I think we can only do it for the current financial year, can't we? So, this one, we're about halfway through the year, are we?
No, it's 5 months.
Yeah, so, so what's that, 25 lots of 45, so, it's 1,250 quid, is it? That's my maths, something like that. But I do take my point that we've already granted £3,000. I'm not arguing we shouldn't support them, but if you look at the accounts they've put through, they've raised £8,000 more or less, which about a third of it's come from us, and only spent £850 so far. So the current burn rate doesn't look like they've run out of money before the end of the year, and they can always come back to us next year for another grant. So I mean, I'm not saying we wouldn't support it if it felt they weren't able to do it if we didn't support, but it looks to me like they've got enough money to do it at the moment. Maybe they should come back with another request when they've explained what they've done with the £3,000 we've already given them. At the moment seems to be such a saying no.
I think the argument for them would be that when did their application come in? Late August, early September.
Yeah, I've had it for some time, yeah.
The school groups going back, they've had more costs recently.
Okay.
They're also having, for example, they've been collecting bikes in the last 2 or 3 weeks. They've had 3 more families drive last week,
Okay.
and they've been getting bikes and more bikes, and they're getting those upgraded with bits and pieces and so on. So I imagine they've probably gone through a bit more than that.
I wasn't saying I don't support it in principle, it's supporting doing that activity in principle. I was just really trying to make a point that we would be then up to £4,300 this year, and if we weren't convinced that that was money being well spent, maybe the question is why we should do any more.
Unless perhaps we said that we wouldn't charge them rent for this financial year for that.
When are we next due to meet as a finance meeting?
Sorry,
When would we next meet as a finance
November.
meeting? And when after that?
December.
My view is that if we grant sort of a moratorium on it, we do it to the December meeting and review it.
Yes, I mean, sort of historically, if you like, here we are with the playgroup having to go because they can't pay the rent. It's a bit of it's an end of a wedge, as I see it. And probably lots of other groups want the same. How prepared are we? Have we decided as a policy to make this kind of agreement with people? We haven't. And so there's a bit about fairness that's bothering me, actually.
So I think we should go back to them and say that we support what they're doing, and we definitely don't want to see them not able to continue the activities they're doing for lack of support. But we note that they had a grant of £3,000. They've only spent £850 in total so far this year.
I mean, the only thing is if we do charge £45, that £3,000 will go within the year.
Well, no, won't will it? Because we've just worked out it's £1,250 for the rest of the year. So.
Oh, I must have miscalculated when I
Well,
had.
There's only a certain number of weeks left.
I could have done, but
We're halfway through, aren't we?
Well, I was thinking more of like financial year and
there's roughly 6 months left of the financial year, isn't there? So it's roughly
5. So do
It's roughly
45 by
20
times
26.
4 times. I don't know, how many weeks is that?
Just go round to 50 and bring it down. It's easy.
50 is 2,500, so it's 1,250, which is where I got from the first class, wasn't it?
The only thing is the application is 6 weeks old. So it made on the 16th of August, so they will have spent more of that.
Well, I think David's suggestion is sensible, which is if we leave off a couple of months, we'll see where they are then. If they want to come back and say we're running out of money, we'll do it again.
I think at that point, they might need to justify to us why the continuing support from us is necessary. Because by that time, they'll have had the £3,000, they'll have had however much another 2 or 3 months' worth is worth to them. And I think at that stage, we're entitled to look at it. I worry a little bit, as Councillor Chester does, about the sort of whole precedent of the thing.
Yeah.
Inevitably, you have to make pretty ad hoc decisions on a case-by-case basis, because it's difficult to have a flat policy, because circumstances are infinitely variable. But the idea of simply ending up saying, well, we approve of this, so we'll let them have it for free. I mean, we approve of
Volunteer
chat, we
action,
approve of
but like
volunteer
it
action.
Yeah, I know.
We have everything for free.
Exactly. You could argue, well, what's the difference? Now, there's a particular specific issue at the moment going on.
We've
I'm
addressed
happy
that with our £3,000.
Yeah, I'm happy to propose that we tell them that we will not charge them up until the date of our next quarterly FNGP meeting in December. But we will review the position then. And by then, we will want a very clear picture of where the money has gone.
Let's come there.
I don't. I'd like it the other way around, that they resubmit in December or November, whichever one would be, whichever meeting you like. And until then, they get charged. We've given Morag this job of trying to raise income in the hub, so it's important to us that we show how the hub is being used. It's money going round in circles, as we've already said. We've given them £3,000. It's then coming back to us in the form of an invoice. Every charity has to understand how they're going to make themselves sustainable. I don't think it's the place of the precept to landlord town council.
Yes, and so that's what it is.
I'm willing to withdraw my proposition.
Yeah.
Val?
Look at it.
Well, I agree with what you just said. And I get accosted by parishioners saying, you know, we keep hearing what a big precept we've got, and we're the one of the biggest, as if it's something to show off about. Johnny won't listen.
I think in the defence of the group, they were anticipated holding their meetings at their own building. But the large numbers of families who are coming to the village means they don't run that. And we have the ideal solution, which is great that we've got their result. But the fact that Northern Hands are sending so many people in to look at it and get involved with it, it's a good sign of that. And it is in theory a temporary thing, but if that's been the meeting, then
It's interesting, it seems to have had no income at all from North Hands yet.
Northern Hands have them money.
Well, I thought, well, by slight surprise of that, I thought that was part of what the government was asking local authorities to do.
As I understand it, the government has asked local authorities to do it, and the local authorities are waiting for the government to give them money to do it.
Okay.
Which means that in the end, for example, a lot of the towns nearby are looking to what the Baptist Church are doing as a good example. And I think it's Tom Postlock coming to see this in a couple of weeks.
Is he coming?
I think to visit to see it in action on a drive. For exactly that reason, because this is what they want happening in Russian lawns, etc. They're not getting it. So, okay, fine. So we'll ask them to carry on, put that off till December.
So what we're saying, that we're refusing this application at this time, that they can resubmit in December?
As a gesture to you two, how about saying, because that application went in, what, 6 weeks ago or something?
Yeah, 16 years.
And we're only considering it tonight. So why don't we say that the charging starts from now? Not backdating it, as it were. So that's a measure of further support to them.
That seems fair. I would second that as a reflection of the unusualness of their situation. So David's proposing the other second, would be okay to vote on that? That we start charging from now rather than from the side using.
Is that an amendment? I don't know, there's been a few
I think
proposals.
I
And
ended up
there's-
seconding Liz's proposal and then seeking an amendment to it as well.
So David withdrew his initial.
And I withdrew my initial.
So the proposal is that we refuse it, but say that we're only going to start charging it from now, and invite them to
They should
resubmit
resubmit the right to
with a projection,
with all the figures.
with a projection of what their costs will be for the rest of this financial year. £15,000 that we've already granted for one go.
To be fair, so David proposed, I'm second. Are we okay to vote on that?
Mhm.
Okay. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. 23/1304, grant application from the Rowing Club. This came through as a slightly terse application, just a page, and they never sent through a newer version,
I
so
haven't
with
seen it,
more
sorry.
information. And it's for parking mats at their out of town boat club site. I think I understood it as a total cost of 6,000 or 7,000, and they're asking for a certain amount, maybe 4.5.
Yeah, they're asking like 5. For,
538.
No,
No, sorry, it's 2,000.
yeah, and then they've got a meterage down at 400 square meters. One thing I was going to point out is in the later pages of the application, they say that they can't start doing the work until March, when the grass starts growing. And they invite us to go and have a look and see what boat club is, because they don't know much about it. So,
When I first went through it, I thought, again, it's another one of these things that we've got lots of organisations like this in the town that do ask for our support. And I think it's appropriate to give you some support, but the amount seems out of kilter with what we give to other people in the town. So they're perfectly, good cause, and I support, in the idea of giving them some support. But I think something like £1,000 or thereabouts would be more in line with what the sorts of grants we give to other organisations, similar organisations.
that's absolutely. Anything from anyone else?
I'm sorry I haven't had an opportunity to read it. I read the papers very late and then I asked Emma for the rest of it.
So it's longer than the actual version we have.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Well, it was-
brusque.
I scanned it, everything was double-sided, and I don't know what happened to that, because everything else had gone through.
Yeah.
I did that with an article on Saturday, so half the article.
You've just got Page 1 and a blank page.
So basically, it's all to do with parking and making it available, which makes sense. If we wanted to knock this one down the road, but I'd be happy to go and see them in action if I'm free at some point, just to go and see what they're doing. Because they're out by beyond Barnwell Country
Yeah,
Park and
they
further
are.
up the Eastern town, and they've moved down.
There's no issues with us in terms of,
Being another parish.
being another parish, yes. There's no procedural issues with us giving money to an organisation that doesn't, they're going to spend it outside their
I
parish.
checked our policy, and it says that it's to help mainly the residents.
Yeah.
They do make a point on the full
Yeah.
application that there's lots of people from Amberley who use the boat club. So I don't think we need to. That was my first thought as well.
Perhaps the sensible,
Sorry, I'm so sorry, Jim.
I was just going to say perhaps the sensible thing is to put this one off till December as well. That can give you a chance to have some engagement with them, and then we can have a further look, and at which point we might also have a slightly better idea where our budget is.
Yeah. Or maybe just say, I'm sorry, we're going to reject that, because it's request out of line.
Well, I think we could also say to them, in doing that,
Yeah.
make it clear to them, look, don't start relying on the fact that you're going to get this from us, because if we make a grant, it won't be. And I think that's what we're Councillor Hutton.
So just to understand how we made the decision on the football club, because this is the same stuff, isn't it? For basically the same reason.
Hmm.
And I think we gave them quite a lot.
We did.
We did.
I think the fact that's in the middle of town.
Yes, I was just going to say, I think that, because they're going to know that.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that any decision is made in the context of how we came to a different decision for the football club. Because otherwise, otherwise it looks like we set a precedent and we're just being reasonable.
No, I've seen, if you saw the large numbers of TV vans sitting on the matting a week and a bit ago, when the crowd was really big.
Oh, really?
It was doing its job, keeping those off the street.
Yeah.
I think also, I have no basis of fact for this statement, but I also suspect there's an awful lot more people, and a lot more young people use the football ground than do the
I think we might need that kind of statistic
Yeah.
for that very reason, because I'm pretty sure that's probably right.
I just
Okay.
don't want to appear arbitrary, you know, and say we took into account the
No,
different
I'll make
circumstances.
arrangements to.
Yeah.
We
and
did
see,
give, we gave the football club £4,500.
And I'll sound that and see what's wrong. And say-
I mean, as I say, I think it's different, but you need to articulate in what ways it is different.
Absolutely. Right, thank you very much indeed.
So it's been deferred to
deferred,
December, and
I'll
you're
make-
actually going to go and meet
I
with
will
them.
go
And I
they've
will
invited
just
us
tell
to-
them it's been deferred. Do you want me to say anything else, or just leave it
Just
at that?
I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
So you'll give the message that it's unlikely to be as much as.
Absolutely. There's a budget constraints.
Mm-hmm.
So do we need to make a decision to go into camera at this point? Because that's the end of the finance meeting.
Yes, as we're going to talk about personnel.
So I have proposed that we do that. Yep. David seconded. Everyone's okay with it, thank you very much.
Right.
So first of all, terms of reference for the personnel